everyone, welcome back to Nusrat Ma'am ki online classes. Today we are going to start very important chapter, that is chapter number 6, Object Oriented Concept. In Object Oriented Programming, or you can say OOPS, that is Object Oriented Programming. It is used to solve complex problems, and almost all modern languages support Object Oriented Programming except C language. Object-oriented programming is a problem-solving technique to develop software. Many students find it difficult to understand the object-oriented programming concept. You will understand it better if you will put the theoretical knowledge into practice. So here I tried my best to explain each and every concept of object-oriented programming with real-world examples and through diagrams. I have divided this chapter into two parts. In part 1 of chapter 6, we will see different approach in programming to solve the problem, that is object-oriented programming and procedure-oriented programming. Then we will see the concept like object, class, that is the base of object-oriented programming. And then we will come across four pillars of object-oriented programming, or you can say four concepts that make any computer program as object-oriented, that are encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. Inheritance, I will cover it in part 2. So let's start this online session with introduction. In today's era of internet, website, and web-based operation, rapid application development and reusability of source code is very important. RAD stands for Rapid Application Development. That is a software development process for developing software in a short span of time. The main feature of rapid application development is that it will focus on the reuse of source code. Object-oriented technique as a methodology or as paradigm is playing significant role in analyze, design and implementation of software system. And this was the question asked by board in March 2017. Like which programming language is used to analyze, design and implementation of software? And the correct answer is object-oriented programming. Software developed using object-oriented are proclaimed to be more reliable in terms of few errors. It becomes easier to maintain, reuse and enhance, means system can be easily upgraded from small to large system with additional feature whenever needed. Object-oriented programming concept started originating in the year 1960. Since mid-1980s, it has become the main programming paradigm or methodology used in the creation of large and complex software. Almost all modern programming languages support object-oriented programming. Some of the popular programming languages that support object-oriented programming are C++, Java, C#, VB.NET, ASP.NET, and PHP. So question can be, which of the following language does not support object-oriented programming language? And the correct answer is C language, because C language is a procedural-oriented language. Just now I told C the procedure-oriented language, and I even told something about object-oriented language. So now we will see the way of programming can be divided into two categories, namely procedure-oriented programming language and object-oriented programming language. Here we will make the perfect cup of tea in both the way of programming. Interesting, isn't it? First, we will see how to make tea using procedure-oriented programming language. Here, first I will explain what is procedure-oriented programming. Then definitely we will make a tea. A program in procedure-oriented language is focused on function or procedure which operate on data. Now, what is function and procedure here? In simple language, I can say procedure or function is a list of instructions that tell the computer what to do step by step. Here, in procedure-oriented programming, the whole program is divided into set of function or procedure. In procedure-oriented programming, we give importance to algorithm or to the flow of the data, that is procedure or function only. So let's see the function to make tea. In step number 1, we need to boil liquid like water and milk into teapot. So here we will create the boil function with input as water, and we'll reuse the same boil function for milk even. Now in step number 2, we need to add tea powder and sugar. So we will write function add with input argument as sugar as well as for tea powder. In step number 3 we will stir it, and in step number 4 we will serve our perfect tea. And please don't forget to thank me for this perfect tea by subscribing my channel and hitting the bell icon. Here, this procedure programming concept is very simple and straightforward. But as our programs grow, it needs lot of function and difficulty arise when we wish to make a change to one function and several other functions get disturbed, and it's become problematic to manage such complex program. So here we come up with the concept of object oriented programming for large and complex programs. In object-oriented paradigm, the focus is on object which contain both data and functionality together. It means in object-oriented programming, we combine a group of related variables and function into a unit, and that unit we call as object. Here, in object-oriented programming, object play a vital role. In object-oriented programming, we need to consider things that we need to make a tea, like teapot, water, milk, sugar, tea powder, etc. Unlike in procedure-oriented programming, we were considering only the procedure of function. Here we will give importance to the thing given that we are going to use to make a tea. Here we have two variables that describe the object. First variable is liquid type, that can be water and milk. And second variable is powder type, that can be a tea powder and sugar. Then we will write the same function as we coded for procedure oriented programming. Here we can have boil function and add function. Next point is the power of object oriented programming language enable the program to create modular. It means large programs are divided into smaller programs. Reusable. Here we are reusing the boil and add method instead of rewriting everything every time you have already coded. And code is extendable, means you can add new feature as per your requirement. Object-oriented programming use object as its fundamental building block. That can be again important question from both point of view. And as I told you earlier, in object-oriented programming, object play an important role. Similar objects are classified using a concept of class that support object-oriented. In upcoming topic, I am going to explain about class in detail. For better understanding, here we will take one more example of library application software from your textbook. In procedure-oriented programming, we will think of all the processes of library application and focus on the module or function like student registration, book issue, book return, and fine calculation. In object-oriented programming, our focus is on object involved in the application. Here we think of the object like student, book, and librarian. We also need to think of association between such objects. For example, for book object, its associated functionality can be book issue, book return, etc. I hope this much is clear to you. A computer language is object-oriented if they support four specific object property, or we can say four pillars of OOPS. If any language does not support any of this object property, that is abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance, then that language is not considered as object-oriented language. These four object property are pillar of object-oriented programming language. Now we will see something about object. Look around you and you will find everything around us is an object. Like a phone or laptop that right now you are holding to watch this video is an object. A pencil, a table, a fan, everything around you is an object. In fact, you and me are also an object. In the real world, objects are the entities of which the world is comprised. Or we can define object as a real world entities. Objects are said to be instance of the class. This point I will explain further when I am going to explain the concept of class. Some object can be concrete thing that one can touch or feel, like person, car, or coffee cup, while other object may be abstract that we can't touch or see. For example, concept like date and time. Take an example of your classroom. Real world entities can be a concrete thing like teacher, board, bench, books, etc. An abstract object can be a timetable. And your good morning greeting to teacher is also an abstract thing. We can feel it, but we can't touch or state. In the object-oriented methodology, every real-world object has its state and behavior. Here, you have to think about two characteristics for any real-world object. Number one is attribute, or you can say property, that is used to identify that object. And number two is behavior, that the object can perform an action. Take an example of real-world object like a person who has an attribute or property like name, city, gender, birthday, profession. And behavior can be how that person walk or talk or move or take birth, get name, change location, etc. There will be many more state and behavior other than this. In object-oriented terminology, that attributes are also referred to as data field. All objects have unique identity and are distinguishable from each other. Here you can see two of those persons, and they are Lily and Bob. Aside from their name, they have some noticeable difference. Lily is from Delhi, Bob is from Pune. Lily is female, whereas Bob is male, and Lily is a teacher and Bob is a doctor. To uniquely identify the object, the value of this attribute are used. This value are called state. State is used to distinguish objects from each other. Now we will study about the behavior. Behavior is also known as method or function. If I talk about one more real object like car, then attribute of that car can be name, color, model and manufacture. And the behavior can be how car can move, accelerate, distance travel, etc. Here also we can say there will be many more state and behavior other than this. And here we will identify different object by its value known as state. I hope this much is clear to you all. The data attribute and the behavioral method associated with an object are collectively referred to as member or feature. If I will combine the attribute and method of an object together, that is known as member or feature. Let's understand concept of class with car example. To create many car objects, we need some template or blueprint, and using such template or blueprint, one can create or design multiple cars with similar feature. So definition of class is a blueprint or template from which individual objects with similar feature are created. It describes a group of objects with similar attribute and common behavior. And such similar objects are classified using a concept of class. Objects in the same class share a common semantic purpose, means class contain multiple objects, but the objects should have similar feature. Here you can't design truck from this car template. It should share common semantic purpose. We can say that the class is a general concept used to embody all the common features of a particular set of objects. See in this image, here we have class name car, describing common attribute and behavior of all cars. In car class, individual cars are considered as objects. Here we have three objects, and each and every object have two characteristics, that is state and behavior. Just now we got familiar with these two concepts, state and behavior, in last slide. We know very well that objects are identified by the state, that is the value of their attribute. As you can see here, if I will take name and color attribute of this car object, then the first car is Mercedes and black in color. Next car is Audi and it is red in color. And the last car is BMW and blue in color. That is the state of object, or we can say value of an attribute. Here we will take one more example from your textbook to better understand the concept of class and object. See in this figure, here person is a class and it serves as a blueprint or template that describe the attribute of person like name, city, gender, birth date, profession, etc. Using this person class, we can create as many objects as we want. Individual person are considered as object. Here we have 5 objects and each object is identified by state, that is the value of an attribute. First object is Miss Dana, second is Professor Shyam, third is Mr. Abhay, fourth is Miss Bina, and the last, fifth object is Dr. Meera. Name along with value of the city, gender, birth date and profession specify the state or value of attribute. Here we will see few more examples. Once the class has been created, we can create as many as objects we want. Take a class named human. Here object can be a man, woman. In animal class, object can be a cat, dog, rabbit, etc. In the same way, in fruit class, object can be apple, mango, kiwi, etc. Now we will move to our next topic, covering four pillars of object-oriented programming. First one is encapsulation. For any computer program, two core elements are data and function. In structure or procedure-oriented programming, view these two core elements, that is data and function, as two separate entities, as you can see here. Whereas in object-oriented programming, this data and function element view as a single entity. Here, see in this diagram, data and function are wrapped into a single unit, and that unit is known as object. In procedural programming, data can be altered by any component of the program. It is not protected from modification. Whereas in object-oriented programming, this problem can be solved using encapsulation. Here I will clear the concept of encapsulation with real-world example of locker. Consider the example of locker at your home. You can put your valuable things in your locker. Now, question arises that who can access what? As we know, cook at your home can access limited to the kitchen. So definitely, cook can't access the locker. Next is helper and maid. They can't access the locker. And then your family member. Yes, of course, they can access the locker. Here you can conclude that the data is not accessible to the outside world. Only the family member can access it. Encapsulation is the mechanism for hiding data from the rest of the world. So here you can see that the data protection is provided by encapsulation that keep the data safe from unintended action and inadvertent access by outside object. Data and method that manipulate data are guarded against modification or misuse by other component of the program. This mechanism is providing protection of data and method of a program is known as encapsulation. The best way to understand encapsulation is to look at the example of a medical capsule, where the medicine is always safe inside the capsule. Similarly, through encapsulation, the data and method of a class are well hidden and safe. We can also say that it is the protective seal that protects data from outside world. Similarly, all the data member or variable, attribute or property and the function is also known as method or behavior, are gathered together and closed. Class is a best example of encapsulation. In object-oriented concept, wrapping data and method into a single unit known as class and declaring them as a private. In encapsulation, the data and method are wrapped into a single unit known as class, just like chocolate is wrapped into foil and paper to protect it from an ant. To achieve encapsulation in Java, declare the variable of the class as private. Private members of the class are not available directly to outside world. If necessary, the data is made available via public method. In upcoming lecture, I am going to explain the concept of private and public in detail. Next topic is abstraction. Data abstraction is the process of representing the essential feature of the object without including implementation detail. Here I will explain this concept with the example of remote control of our television. User know only the essential feature like how to switch on or off using power switch, how to adjust the volume or how to change the channel. Here user know which key to press for what function, but implementation detail like how it will get signal, how signal will be encoded, how it will convert the signal into light, and all such implementation detail is hidden because normal people can't understand that complexity. So all such complexity is hidden. Abstraction is the concept that hides complexity. It says what it does, but not how it is done. Data abstraction is a technique that relies on the separation of interface and implementation. Here, user will get good interface so they can interact with the system, but they will not get any implementation detail. That implementation detail is hidden from the user. Data abstraction provides only the skeleton or template for our use. The system hides certain detail of how the data is stored, created, and maintained. In object-oriented programming, example of data abstraction are ADT, abstract data type, or you can say structure or struct in C or C++, that we are going to study further, and classes in C++ and Java. In C language, there is no concept of class, but in Java and C++, we have the concept of class. In ADT or abstract data type, we simply define a data type and set of operation on it. We don't show the implementation of operation. Here we will see the difference between data encapsulation and data abstraction. Encapsulate protect the data by making them inaccessible from outside. Abstraction enable to represent data in which the implementation detail are hidden. Take an example of car, which hides its engine inside. That concept is encapsulation only. Here, engine is not directly accessible to the outside world. And now we will see the concept of abstraction with the help of car only, with this diagram only. When you apply a brake and your car slow down and stop. But how that is done, you don't know. That is abstraction. So here, abstraction hide implementation detail from the user. Next topic is messaging. Here in this diagram, you can see three classes. That is class date, time and person. And here you can notice that these three different classes having same method with same name like displaying in each and every class. Here, display method of date class will display the date in a specific format, whereas display method in time class will display the time in specific format, and display method in person class will display the detail of person. Here in this program, if I want to call or invoke a display method, and that a call to a method is referred to as a message in object-oriented terminology. When method display is invoked in the program, how to know which method is to be executed? This is determined using the concept of object, and that object will invoke or call the method. Due to encapsulation, all the method calls are handled by object only that recognize the method. See here, if I will write d underscore object dot display, and here you can see d underscore object is an object of date class. Here it will execute the display method of the date class. In the same way, if I will write p underscore object dot display, and you can see here p underscore object is an object of the person class. So it is going to execute the display method of the person class. Here I hope this much is clear to you, and the last topic for today's lecture is polymorphism. In object-oriented programming, polymorphism is a Greek term that means many forms. Suppose if you are in classroom, at that time you behave like a student. When you are in market, at that time you behave like a customer. When you are at your home, at that time you behave like a son. While in the bus you behave like a passenger. So you can see here how a single person behave differently in multiple scenarios. That is the definition of polymorphism. Another example is AC, which give cold air in summer and warm air in winter. So according to the circumstance, a single object had different behavior. The polymorphism is achieved using two types of overloading, function overloading and operator overloading. The capability of using same name to different thing in different contexts is known as overloading. Here, first we will see function or method overloading. In this image, you can see different shapes having same method with the same name. That is area method for each and every shape. And it is possible to define more than one function with the same name in object-oriented programming. That is not an issue. Here, method name is same, but they are differ by the number and type of argument. That is known as signature of method in object-oriented terminology. To calculate area of circle, argument can be a pi r square. Whereas in square, to calculate the area of the square, we need the argument length and width. Object-oriented programming allows defining more than one method having same name but different signature in a single class. It is known as function or method overloading. Here we will take one more example from your textbook of maximum function that find maximum of two numbers. First maximum function, it take two integer as input parameter, and in second maximum function it take array and size. Here you can see that number of arguments are same but type of arguments are different. In first maximum function we are taking only the two integer number. In second maximum function we are taking array, means collection of element, or we can say collection of data. Here we will find the maximum number from the collection of data. Next is operator overloading. Operator overloading, with the name itself we can guess that we are dealing with operators. Here take an example of operator plus. Here we will see how to overload the plus operator. Overload means doing multiple function or job using the same operator. If I will use plus operator with number data type, then it will add the number and give the result. Here you can see that 2 plus 2 will be 4. But in case if I will use with the string, it is used to combine two strings as one string. In plus dia, it will give India. The same operation is given different meaning upon the data type of operand used. Here we will see one more example. Here we can see that the same operator minus is giving different meaning depend upon the data type of operand used. Date D1 minus date D2 and number n1 minus n2. Operator minus is performing in a different way. So here we can define operator overloading as the same operation is giving different meaning upon the data type of operand used. This type of polymorphism is achieved through operator overloading. That is all for the day. Thanks for watching and stay tuned in for the next part of chapter number 6. Have a nice day.